My name's Sean, and joining me, not as always, everyone but Dante. Thanks for the timing. Aless, how was your drive in here?
PSA to all drivers on St. George's Road. The speed limit is 70.
Nice.
The speed limit is 70 for so long. From the reservoir stretch through the end of Thornbury, basically. But we're going like 55. And also, from the stretch where, like, from Thornbury through Arthurton Road, Separation Street, I know it becomes 60, but it's still 70.
It's
like,
a suggestion.
for sure, exactly.
It's a fast 60.
Yeah, it's a very fast 60. It's crazy.
It's funny you bring this up today of all days, because as you know, I'm having a pretty bad day with luck. But I was straight up just need for speeding it.
Yeah.
Today. There were two cars going, I would say, 50 max, and I went zoom, zoom. And if anyone's not watching, that's me switching lanes twice. And it felt sick. It felt sick to finally have the Co-Jones to do it.
Yeah, the Co-Jones. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like the signs are there. and these people have driven this road. Like, if you're on St. George's Road, you've done it before.
But
like,
now, don't get me started on people driving on St. George's Road like it's the first time they've ever driven on St. George's Road. When people do the right turn, like at Arthurton Road or Normanby Ave, and they stop in the middle, and it's like, you know that you can go. Like, I know it's a tiny little green arrow, but this isn't the first time you've been in this intersection before.
This isn't the first time we've had this conversation.
This is-
The last time we recorded here, me, Aless, Marco, were in that right turn lane, and we had this exact experience.
That's exactly right.
because we put ourselves in the left lane to go straight, but the guy in the left lane in front of us was supposed to be in the right, but he got caught up like on the tram line because the people in front hadn't done the turn.
Now, that was really bad driving back.
Yeah, like very poor.
A bit of a hook turn on Arthurton Road. It really isn't Kirsch. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah,
Sean, how are you going?
Yeah, no, I'm going good. So, to the Venn diagram of people who are listening to this pod and know what St. George's Road is, that was a great conversation. But yeah, Dante, this is like his busiest academic week forever of his life. So, please hold him in your prayers for the next couple of days. But he will be finished, and he will be having the rowdiest weekend, probably like top 5 for Mr. Unz. After the weekend he had.
So you might need to fill in next week too, then.
That's a fucking great call.
I'll pencil it in.
But we, the world still turns even without Mr. Unz. So I've invited you guys onto the pod because it's the best time to be a basketball fan. You said this on your pod, the JVG feed. You said unironically we're actually having fun here, and I know. Friend of the pod Llewellyn's listening because last time we listened to a pod we just kept on being like, fuck, basketball sucks. It's like, well, why are we talking about it? But basketball is actually brilliant right now because Golden State are, I would say, up 1-1 in the NBA Finals after 2 games. Don't ask me how that works, I'll explain it later. But who wants to start off with some Game 2 takeaways?
Oh, well, we've done this on come check us over on whatever we call our pod.
I'll take this one. I think the biggest Game 2 takeaway was Golden State Warriors making defensive adjustments and the Boston Celtics not. That Game 1 plan of like just let Marcus Smart and all the role players have open threes didn't pay off. They shot quite well in the first game and they shot quite well in the second game, but just the Warriors' decision to just put their 2 best defenders on the floor on the Jays at any given time, not worry too much about hedging hard on screens, not worry too much about doubling them, actually defend the other 3 players on the court. That just took all of the Boston role players completely out of the game. And then of course, just some more Steph Curry finals magic. I think Boston should have looked at the performance he had in Game 1 and gone, right, well, we should do something different. We probably shouldn't let, Tice do drop coverage on
the greatest shooter of all time.
On the greatest shooter of all time.
It's not like you can lean back on Al Horford having 6 threes again. Like, they got over a great Steph game in Game 1 by shooting possibly the best they've ever done all season. So
from a very poor overall 3-point shooting team. I think they were bottom 10 in the league.
And they've had 2 excellent shooting games, and that's why I say that they're up 1-1 because Golden State seriously is in the driver's seat here. And last week when Dante and I recorded, I said Golden State's going to win in 5 games, and it's still looking like Golden State's going to win in 5 games. 4 games in a row it'll take them to win. But look, we've we've just taken punches of Boston's best offensive games I've ever seen them play. Derek White's not going to start here. Keep hitting threes with a finger up his nose. Al Horford didn't get a shot off until the fourth quarter or something. That's incredible. And yeah, you say just put your best defenders on the Jays. It's weird how you put your best defenders on the best offensive players. But you can understand why Steve Kerr did that, because you want Draymond roaming and stuff. But I love how Steve Kerr loves to do this in the regular season as well, where he'll make an adjustment, but he'll still stick with the traditional matchup from the very first possession, just so the other coach can sort of take a sigh, sort of take a breath, and just say, okay, this is how they're playing. And then the next possession is like that for the rest of the game. So the first possession, Draymond Green was on Al Horford, and he went right up to him saying, look, I'm not going to let you take this three. And not only did he guard him, he ripped the ball out of his hands. And then the next possession, he was on Jaylen Brown for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It's just winning everywhere.
Jaylen got hammered by Draymond for the last 36 minutes of the game. It just wasn't even close. And we always joke about how he can't dribble the ball, but when you put someone with elite ball pressure in front of him, it just compounds everything that was bad about Jaylen Brown's game. And coming into the series and coming off the Mavs series, I was going into the Mavs one. I think I tipped the Warriors to win. I can't remember, but I was like, the Mavs have the best player in the series, right? And after I think I just got caught up in the Tatum sort of fuss, and I was like, there's a serious chance that the Warriors have a better team, but Boston might have the best player on not on merit, but just on form at the moment. It's just not even close. Steph is so much better than Tatum, and say what you will about Steph and Luka, but Steph's it's all unmeasurable. I mean, it's very measurable. He has incredible statistics. But just the gravity's so stupid. It's so silly.
And I love that right around this series where we're getting the whole conversation about whether KD was the guy in Golden State, and it's such a subjective argument, because what does that actually mean? Is he the guy who's going to take the game-winning shot over LeBron to win the game, or is he the point guard? And it's no, he's not. And obviously Steph gets so much attention, but it's great just to see KD and guys, hooting and hollering on the Bluebird. And then, Steph Curry just comes out, doesn't say anything. He's not been one to talk, really. Draymond usually does that for him. And he just fucking shows that, he's still, look, I'll use a vibe term here, he's still that guy. What do you reckon, Lukey?
KD can tweet all he wants. Steph's in the NBA Finals.
Yeah. And they're on at the moment, actually.
Jar, you can do that handwriting emoji as many times as you want. Pat Babe, you can say they never dropped 47 against us. There's two teams that aren't tweeting right. Well, Jason Tatum's tweeting.
There's two, and that's why they're going to lose.
But there's two teams that are on Twitter right now, so all of you can just keep fucking talking. I feel like after the first two games, there is now nothing more each team can learn about the other. And I kind of want the series to start now. I'd love if it was just 0-0 and then the series starts now. Give Boston home court. They've earned it. And my main takeaways from the first two games, or moving into the rest of the series, is it's going to come down to in-game adjustments, execution, and not being a fucking dumbass. And I trust the Warriors to not be a dumbass for 45 minutes and the Celtics to not be dumbasses for 36. Which is 9 more minutes for anyone doing maths. But it's even worse than that, because those 3 minutes are bad plays or bad possessions or Jordan Poole being point guard for the Warriors. Whereas with the Celtics, it's okay, let's play the Warriors game for 6 minutes and go down 20 points. I think if we leave Boston 2-2, then the Warriors have won the ring. But if we leave it 3-1 Boston, then the Celtics have a chance. But even then, if you're 3-1 up, you should be they're going to win for sure. But, I said this on JVGN Bats. If it goes long, if this series goes long, 6 or 7 games, the useful players on Boston are just going to be cooked. There's going to be a point where Udoka's okay, no, there actually is 5 guys that don't have to compromise. Being Derek White, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford.
Credit to Udoka though, because no one played more than 34 last game.
But he pulled the plug so...
I know, but it's alright, we're losing this game.
Yeah.
But you got to give him... at least I'm going to give him credit for we're losing this game. I'm not going to give Tatum the Jimmy Butler treatment and have him cooked in game 7. We can't have him cooked in game 7. he played well, everyone else played shit. I'm just gonna pull it. He probably read the morale in the room. He would have spoken to the assistant coaches and just been like, let's pull the plug and let's go to Boston at 1-1. We did what we had to do, and that was beat Golden State in San Francisco. Like, let's not run the tread off our players. Like, let's just call it.
Yeah. We all feel pretty confident about the Warriors, but, you know, if I'm Udoka, I'm so happy with the situation right now. Again, I said this last night, but Boston. This is going to be Boston's first home game since Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So the crowd is going to be just roaring.
Racist.
Ready to
Sorry.
There's going to be hard R-ing all over the place. And, you know, this Boston is... They're going to really want to come out and get one back on the Warriors. Like, I think 2-1 after Game 3 to Boston is the most likely scenario. We're still really hot on the Warriors and think they have the upper hand here. But if you're Udoka, you're pretty happy with the circumstances.
Yeah. Look, so the reason I still think Golden State's going to win in 5 is that we figured out something just beautiful in Game 2. And that's, again, like I say, weathering 2 incredibly hot shooting games from the Boston Celtics. Like, yes, we kicked their ass in the third quarter and the fourth didn't matter. But, like, they were shooting well for that game. Rob Williams played, I think it was 14 minutes or 11 minutes, and Marcus Smart fell on his knee, which is very concerning for a dude who doesn't have a meniscus right now. But he, like, I swear we shoot 0% at the rim when he's in there. And something about Andrew Wiggins being so confident is that he's, you know, actually taking these shots that in Minnesota he's sort of shied away from. So he's still been taking the shots when Rob Williams is in there and just getting swatted no matter what, which is like, is what it is. He's, you know, essentially Jaren Jackson Jr. with like less mobility on the perimeter right now. But he's been blocking Steph Curry threes. But outside of him, Daniel Tice is just going to drop no matter what. And if he doesn't drop, then he's just a slow German dude who Steph Curry's going to run circles around. Grant Williams, I thought was going to be big trouble for Steph Curry, but he has been absolute dog crap. And if he's just going to, you know, if Draymond just gets in his head for the next 3 games in my mind, if Draymond just keeps doing what he did in Game 1, like, that's awesome. And also Andrew Wiggins, we should mention, just smacking Grant Williams in the chest with his elbow. That was amazing. But there's no bigs there that can actually guard Stephen Curry. And as soon as you just have that situation where we have the favourable matchup every single time we call a pick and roll, Steph's going to play 40 minutes in the rest of this series. We've got a favourable matchup. We're going to create an advantage every single time down the court, except for when Klay Thompson does some weird like mid-range pull-up with 19 seconds left on the clock. We're just going to win the game because that's repeatable. That's eventually Klay's going to start hitting his shots. Eventually Jordan Poole's going to hit his shots when we're not just up 15 points. And what's not repeatable is Al Horford and Derek White being unguarded and hitting them from 3. So like this... Yeah, Ime Udoka should be over the moon that they're 1-1 going to Golden State, but it's not a very good 1-1 when you actually watch the game and see how much we kick their butt. 100%.
But Udoka needs to not repeat what Monty Williams did, and he needs to actually figure out how to get Draymond off Jaylen Brown. Because, like...
Monty, Jason Kidd?
No, Monty. So, like, once Dallas figured out Phoenix didn't do anything. They were just like, we're going to run our stuff and whatever happens, happens. Right? Boston can't, in Game 3 through 7, get caught up in, like, the end of we watched, 2 games of the Miami series together, like, the 4 of us. And, you know, others.
I missed one.
Yeah. At least 4. And it was like, Boston's not running anything. It's just like, player with the ball at the top of the key, 2 on the 45, 2 in the corner. Screen comes up, whatever happens off the screen, the person with the ball makes the read, right? And the read, because Miami was such a good defense, didn't often like come to anything, and they just won because they happened to be better, right? Now you're playing a team that's better than that, right? You need to get Draymond Green off Jaylen Brown. Run however many backdoor, anything, just run anything.
Yeah.
Run literally anything.
I have confidence that Udoka will be able to do that, or at least attempt that in Game 3. It's Draymond Green, so you don't know how successful it's going to be. Just from the way that Tatum was playing from the beginning of Game 1, just completely anticipating getting all those like hard hedges and doubles. And that's what won them the game, essentially. It was just like, all right, you know, Jay, you're probably not going to get many good shots tonight, and he missed all of the good ones as well. So just be ready to hit someone open on the perimeter. Like the second Warriors defender came over. So, you know, I think Udoka's... dare I say, in a different mindset for this series, where he's maybe, he knows he's going up against a much better coached, a much better drilled, much better adjusting team that punishes mistakes more than Miami do. And yeah, we'll make the adjustments, or at least attempt them accordingly.
What were you talking about with Steph not being the best player in the series? Was it you were saying Luke is the best player in the playoffs?
Yeah, at the time it was like,
yeah.
Oh, the Mavs might win it because they've got the best player, and this
Yeah.
series was like, oh, the Celtics might win it because they might, they theoretically have the best player.
Yeah.
But they just don't.
It's same thing with Draymond, with Grant Williams, and I was like, the difference between Draymond and Grant Williams is much bigger than the difference between Steph and Tatum. I would say.
Depends if you ask.
But like Steph, the whole Warriors team, but Steph and Draymond have just shown like there is just a level that you aren't at. You're just not at this level. Draymond's like, okay, I'm just going to take Grant Williams out of the series in game 2. Cool, we don't have to worry about him. There's only 5 guys in this team we have to worry about. And then Steph's like, yeah, fuck, well, let's see, what can I do? Oh, I hit 6 threes in the first quarter, I can do that. And then the second game, it's like, yeah, in the second game, what can I do? All right, well, I'll let the game take its own shape. We'll do what we wanted to do defensively first, and then I'll start getting my shit going when the opportunity arises for me. And yeah, it's just like it kind of looks like the Celtics are scared. They're definitely fucking quiet, like much more quiet than they have been. They look shaken. Like there's no communication on the court, and it's like it's not like great play. Great, one team is outplaying the other, which they are, but that's not the thing that reigns. Like that is the most notable thing out of this series for me is that game, like the dead silence you can see the Boston Celtics playing with.
Yeah. Any further comments?
Yeah, well, I got one more thing because we have given the Warriors the old reach around in this in this segment so far. Sean, I do want to hear, your opinion on what I've been worried about so far for the Warriors in this series. Klay Thompson, obviously, you mentioned it, been taking shots kind of out of the rhythm of the game and not hitting any of them. But the biggest one for me is Jordan Poole, who, looked just like an absolute black hole for about the first 6 quarters of this series. What do you do about him? And theoretically, if Jordan Poole were to go down with a series-ending injury, if there were 0 Jordan Poole minutes available, like who would you play in lieu of him? And where would the playmaking and that extra scoring come from?
So, our closing lineup is going to get really interesting because, you have to have Steph, Draymond, Wiggins, and Gary Payton II out there. And then that 5th spot is either Clay, JP, or Kevon Looney, or Otto Porter Jr. We strengthen numbers. It's an embarrassment of riches. But, the Warriors don't actually need Jordan Poole to play that well. He played 23 minutes last game. And, he was 6 of 14, but, I'm happy to say those final 6 were, his last 6 shots he took, right?
They certainly were.
He got swatted by Daniel Tice, and, he just wasn't getting anything going. And it's a much more physical game, and I really like how the refs aren't calling just all these stupid fouls that we saw them call in the last series, which is weird, because that should be also a final. But, he's not flourishing with the amount of physicality that he's facing in this series, and I don't want to say he's going to go down with a series-ending injury, but if he just plays 20 minutes a game, that's fine. In the regular season, for us to win, he plays 30 minutes a game, but 20 is fine in this series, and also he's played as many finals games as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and they're also struggling in this series. It is his first finals. It's his first time going against supreme physicality. I know you've just fetishized Lucas. You fetishize just guys that have been there and guys that know how to play in the finals. So that's why you pick Golden State to go all the way. And I love that number in entering game 1. It was the combined finals games. It was 134-0. It's Steph, Clay, Draymond, they are not worried one bit. 6 threes in the first finals quarter, that's so hot. And Jason Tatum's not going to shoot 1 of 7 from 2-pointers again. He's eventually going to get better, and Jordan Poole will eventually get better, and just be he's going to be look, if Daniel Tice is going to absolutely body me, maybe I'm able to jump right into him and change some stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes around and has a much better game next game.
Okay.
This is also his worst matchup.
Yeah, big
Like-
time. Oh, Derek White and,
Like,
and
Brun-
Marcus
but like,
Smart.
but like Brunson and Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, Smart and just anyone on Boston.
Yeah.
Even Horford. Even Horford's just going to do so much more than
Yeah.
anyone else he's faced for pretty much the whole year.
To wrap this up, my prediction for Game 3 is that we're going to win. Obviously, we're going to win the next 3, and Draymond Green's going to have a triple-double because there's literally no bigs that can actually get out there to Steph, so he almost has to get doubled every single time there. Steph is so good at throwing that overhead sort of skyhook pass or that little bounce pocket pass. Draymond's going to get it. It's going to be a 4v3, and he's going to get like an 11, 10, 11 triple-double, 2 blocks, 2 steals. And he's going to walk out of there fucking doing these ones, doing the flexes to the Boston crowd. And
That needs to stop, by the way.
no, it doesn't at all.
No, it doesn't.
Every
It
time
really-
he does that, I do it with him. It's the cringiest thing.
I don't think he's hit a layup through contact.
No, he
Me,
like
bro. He got one
He-
last game.
He loves missing him. He loves.
He does.
When
He does.
when he
Like,
hit, that's why I'm so hyped when he hits it.
Yeah, but that's why you don't get to do it. You don't get to do
I
it when
do
you're
it every game.
when you're like
at
when you're like
once.
15% on like physical layups.
Yeah, but like he's not gonna like have some great switch defense and celebrate that hard. Like he needs. he's only like socially like allowed to celebrate that hard after
a bucket.
the stereotypical
Yeah.
celebration moment.
Herb Jones would never, but
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And Herb Jones can hit a 3, so. I'm not saying Herb Jones is better than Draymond, but here we are.
Well,
we're having the discussion.
I mean, like,
It's the freaking NBA finals.
Yeah, I know.
Let's do it.
speaking of Herb Jones,
just because, as you know, here on the Deep to NBA podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you get your daily podcast weekly, we love accountability here.
Yeah.
And I've said Golden State's going to win Game 3. What's all your predictions? Rapid fire.
Game 3 is
Game 3.
Boston,
Boston.
but Warriors in 6.
Yeah, I
Warriors in
think
6.
if Brown and Tatum's minutes start with a 4, that's a big win for the Warriors.
Yeah.
I think you just make them win Game 3.
Make them earn a win.
Yeah.
We go right to the end.
Yeah.
We go right to the end.
Golden State went into Dallas in Game 3 when they're up 2-0 and just gritted out a win. We're going to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, but the American Airlines Arena is no TD, guys. Is it the American Airlines Arena in Dallas?
Oh, it's the American Airlines Arena or Center.
Got
And
it.
then another team has the American Airlines Arena or Center.
Yeah, there you go. God, I'm getting old.
Wow, look at us.
Oh, do you guys want to know the most terrifying place in the world if you're a Boston fan?
Oh, hang on. Can I guess this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, shit. Is something racist?
No, I just made it up.
I was going to say like
Yeah, the NACC.
NACCP. The passing lanes.
Oh, that's nice. Did you listen to the latest Bad Friends pod?
No, I got like 4 banked up.
And
No spoilers.
True. You've said that to me for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But they're talking about like one of the former leaders. Of the
he said no
NCAA.
spoilers.
Just curious. Just go.
skip
Watch
forwards.
COD.
Skip forwards 15 seconds. There was like the former leader of the NAACP. It was like just a white chick that just tanned a lot.
Oh yeah. It's some. What's her name?
Georgia or something.
I don't think she was the national leader.
Oh, she
of
was.
it.
Okay.
but it was hilarious when she got found out.
Yeah.
Not being black.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're all on the
That
same
was
page.
quite a big news story.
All right, Lucas, you can come back now. All right, we'll touch on the news of the week. Shut up.
Surprisingly relevant, isn't it?
So, for those of you,
Genuinely, though, the first bit of news that's actually finals.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least,
No,
at least about a team that happens.
We're about to talk about the players who are working out for the Lakers this week.
Langston Galloway
They
and
really-
Wenyan Gabriel.
They could have used Langston Galloway.
You know what they say? When in Gabriel.
Wenyan, I just met her.
God. See what happens when Dante's in here. Anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, you said on your pod yesterday, which everyone should check out, of the JVG NBA trivia show. Yeah, you said like, oh, I'm excited for the pod tomorrow because like Sean's probably our silliest friend, but like he's not really. He's pretty mature on the pod.
Yeah, you're the voice of reason. I
You
would
rein
say.
it in, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Except when Dante
pretty
has
silly.
Are you trying to do like a cool dad bit while
wait,
Mum's
you know-
like finishing?
We're the Fockers, right? We're not the parents, we're the Fockers.
Yeah.
Have you seen that Ben Stiller film? Nightmare of the
There's only
museums.
one. No, Meet the Museum.
It keeps coming up in my Netflix suggested. I really got to watch it again.
Nightmare.
Sean, you were saying?
Yeah, so news of the week. So Zach Lowe of ESPN had this report that, quote, rival teams are grumbling about Golden State's competitive advantage on spending. This was, of course, referring to the fact that Golden State has... I've stopped quoting, by the way. Golden State has a huge luxury tax bill because we've just decided that spending money helps you win games. But obviously the NBA uses a soft cap system, which means that there's a cap, and I think it's going to be like 119 next year, but you're legally allowed to go over the cap for various reasons. One of those reasons is... Well, there's actually three reasons. So one of them is retaining your free agents that have been there for a long term.
It's a homegrown talent. For the
homegrown talent for the most part. Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions if you're Paul Millsap and you went to Denver for 4 years. But roughly, if you draft a guy, you can re-sign them and go well over the cap. You can also sign as many minimum contracts as you want or need. And every year you get an MLE, or you'll have the taxpayer mid-level exception if you're paying the tax, and all of those things let you go over that that figure that we have as the tax. So this is a crazy report because I'll pass it to you next, Alessio. But just firstly, what the or Lucas, whatever, or Marco, but what the that's the thing about podcasts. But yeah, so pretty much what the report here from Zach Lowe is that teams are unhappy that the Warriors have been allowed to spend this much money to keep this many All-Stars and this many up-and-coming players, which is absurd because they're legally allowed to. And also I'll get it up here. So if they re-sign, the only free agent there, if they re-sign, is Gary Payton II, but they're likely going to extend Jordan Poole. Their luxury tax penalties could hit $475 million in the coming years, and then that figure is then distributed among the teams that aren't paying the tax. Which is essentially to them free money. It doesn't count towards their cap. It just gives them free money to spend on whether it be a coach or
they'll keep
a scouting system.
Owner pockets it.
Or the owner pockets it.
I didn't know that was how it worked.
That's why Sam Hinkie was very happy just to stay below, because he knew that his owners were going to be happy because he would always just get this kickback right at the end of the year.
I know how it works.
Detroit.
Sean just
Lukey, what do you want to say about this?
Well, I just wanted to start by saying I think we should all just take our time and ease into this and just say everything you want to say. Because I'm very excited to talk about this.
Yeah,
but
I was going to come in so hard. I'll cool it off a little bit. I know who's complaining about this. It's the New York teams, Miami, the Los Angeles teams, and that's probably... Look, and I wouldn't be shocked if Boston was complaining. Although, no, they wouldn't be because they're all homegrown. No one that is shit is complaining, obviously. The owners that are leaking this, or at least the GMs that are leaking this, you signed the fucking CBA, right? You signed, and then if you get someone like, I'm just going to say Sacramento because I'm sure they would complain about it just cause. The rule was brought in so that you could retain talent. If you do not acquire talent that is worthy of retaining, then you're not going to fucking retain them. That's it, right? The reason this rule is in place is to keep good players in shit markets. That's the reason the Bucks won a championship, because the rule worked for them. Now that the rule is working for a good market, because the good market happens to be run by a good bunch of owners and a good GM and a good coach and et cetera, and good fans and whatever. You don't get to cry about it. You don't get to cry about it. When you signed off on the rule, the CBA would have needed how many people to agree on it to go through? It would have been a majority, like a high majority, which means almost everyone agreed to it, and now it's in place. And you guys are like, oh, why is the team that drafted 3 homegrown All-Stars traded for another one and then drafted their next 3 best players and managed for all 7 of them to be good, right? Then when they signed minimum contracts, they signed players that were good at basketball as opposed to players that aren't good at basketball. Take notes, Los Angeles. That's why it worked. And you know what? On top of that, outside of Steve Ballmer, no one's willing to pay $400 million in tax, despite the fact that all of these fucking assholes are well and truly worth the money, right? Golden State is making billions of dollars in revenue. And so in order to continue making billions of dollars in revenue, they are spending $400 million in luxury tax. Whereas Miami or the Lakers, just bankrolling on name alone, but they refuse to pay the tax, and now are upset that another team is paying the tax. That again, they agreed to as the rules. It's the stupidest thing. When it came out, and I read into it, and then Sean sort of put the finer details in the Google Docs today. It's like, this just gets stupider and stupider the more you look at it. Like, why is only one team in the league fucking good? You know? Like, San Antonio did this without paying the tax. This was before the tax rules changed and the cap spiked a lot. So San Antonio is arguably more impressive. But, like, no, yeah, whatever.
And they had guys take pay cuts as
and
well.
that as well. So they were lucky. They were lucky and impressive. The Warriors guys are like, pay me. And the Warriors are like, yeah, sick. Well, you're winning us fucking championships, so why not?
Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the like retaining players you drafted, you're fucking getting what you want. That is exactly what all of you wanted. Maybe not the Lakers, but all of you wanted players to retain, to stay at the teams that drafted them. There are two players that will be a part of the luxury tax that they didn't draft. Gary Payton II and Andrew Wiggins you highlighted. Would anyone else be part of it?
No.
Okay, Gary Payton II. Most of his professional basketballing career, he's been on the couch. Anyone, if you were good at your job, could go pick him up. Andrew Wiggins, over the past, well, let's say before this trade deadline, there was a 1.5-year stretch where he was on one of the most tradable contracts of all time.
He was a salary dump. You weren't giving up something to get him. Yeah.
But I talked to my friend Sean today. He said that the Warriors actually never were wanting to trade him. But the point I'm making...
That's what they're saying.
That's what they say.
Yeah. But okay, well, the point I'm making is 25 million roughly. Every team can make that up in contracts. Every team has picks. 29 of your teams, if you fucking wanted Andrew Wiggins, I'm sure you would have been able to make a deal to get him to your club. So none of you are making valid points yet. Also... Yep, like Aless said, most of you are fucking Sigunis. None of you want to pay this money anyway. So yeah, I said that. Yeah, there's only one team this could possibly be, and it's the Lakers. Like there's only one team it could be.
I actually reckon it's like partly Denver as well. I reckon
that
some
was
of those cost-cutting teams that are like, oh, we don't want to pay the tax. Maybe there shouldn't be a tax.
Sorry, Denver.
But after our
Which is
pod
a
last
bigger
week,
issue.
Stan Kroenke, the richest guy in the fucking world, is complaining about his Rams team just
Won the Super Bowl.
This is what's interesting about Stan Kroenke, and I know this is on topic, but also very much off topic. The Rams, all they do is pay good players money, right? So I don't know how much you guys are into the NFL, but the Rams trade away all of their picks, and they pay all-star level players massive contracts. They just pay a shit ton of money. The NFL has a harder cap than the NBA, so it's a little bit tougher. But all they do is give good players money. They're owned by the same guy that Denver is. I don't know how the Rams GM managed to tell Kroenke, hey, we're paying money, but Tim Connolly couldn't. When Tim Connolly was doing as good a job of team building in a less profitable league, but yeah.
It's just, what do the teams want here?
Yeah.
Do they want like the Warriors broken up? Do they want like Clay on the free agent market?
Yeah.
Do they want to pick up a guy who spent 10 years with one franchise who is obviously a franchise player at age 33 to sign a $30 million contract with, I don't know, the Sacramento Kings or something like that? Like, why would you want that? Why now as well? Why 9-10 years into this Warriors like dynasty, you know? Like, yeah, when did Draymond and Clay get drafted? 10 years ago?
2012.
Yeah, there you go. Why now? Why is now the time to bring up that they're stretching too far in the luxury tax? Like, they've done everything. They've kept all of their players through championships. They're in another run to the finals now. What is the actual like? It just feels spiteful, and it just feels like you're butthurt.
It just seems sooky. Yeah.
Okay, but just sorry. If this is true, what about the last 15 years of what everyone's been saying?
Yeah.
If this is true, okay, let's just say this is true, okay? What the fuck has anyone said over the past, well, since the CBA, what has it meant? Because you've all contradicted yourself. Alex.
The Warriors probably shouldn't have gotten Durant. And then Durant shouldn't have become D'Angelo Russell. And then Russell I guess Russell was worthy of the Wiggins deal plus a pick. So that was the only deal where it's like, I guess this is of value, but they shouldn't have had Russell in the first place. So you go through those steps and it's like, all right, well, they shouldn't have Kuminga plus Wiggins, right?
Yeah.
But they do. and that's what we're playing by.
Yeah, but the whole the Wiggins thing is also you just won a trade. If anyone wins a trade that much, then you're going to be in a better position than other teams. So let's say
and they knew
all drafting well plus a good trade, you get where you are.
Yeah, they knew Russell he doesn't fit here. We just need a contract.
Yeah.
We need to pick up a player. He's an all-star, and some idiot's going to trade for him. If Tim Connolly was the GM of the Wolves at the time, no chance that trade happens.
Yeah.
No chance. He gets value for Wiggins.
Yeah.
But instead they've shipped off value 2 times over because they've shipped off the good contract like Lucas said and the 7th pick. So
If these people were to leak this and they were to just come out and say, because you can track it back to the KD signing, we're really mad that KD signed with the Warriors. So much more respectful. I would be like, you know what? So am I.
Yeah.
But don't say it like this.
Yeah, we're so mad that Jordan Poole is going to sign an extension. What are you saying?
Yeah, the 29th pick is going to sign an extension.
Yeah.
Draft someone good. Draft someone good.
All of you had a chance.
Yeah.
All of you had a chance.
But you've had so many chances.
No. One franchise.
No, the Utah Jazz didn't have a chance. They never do.
But the Jazz found their value. They had their all-star at the 13th pick. The Kings refused to draft value.
I'm sure they tried.
No, they're not. I guarantee you. The Pistons waited until they got the first pick to draft someone that was good. They needed the first pick in a draft with a theoretically franchise-altering player to be like, oh, maybe we'll pick the guy that's good at basketball.
And then, using that momentum, they went and drafted a 2nd overall pick. Traded for
Who?
Marvin Bagley.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of value. I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening. Although it is America, so.
Sean, I've got a question for you as a Warriors fan. My second question for you as a Warriors fan today.
Right.
Damn, he's been a bit of a Warriors fan tonight.
I can't believe it.
I have a question for a Nuggets fan after this.
Yeah, I'm staring at the Nuggets. Twitch magnet.
Tim Connolly bought that for me? No, I'm not even shitting you right now.
Yeah, we do know. This is like my story in the soccer game.
Yeah.
84th minute.
No, 88th, but you were close.
Remember that time you almost got killed by a horse?
No! Sorry, Mark, we all interrupted.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, Draymond and Clay's contracts are going to expire the year after Jordan Poole's extension would kick in. So there'll be 1 year of crossover where you have Steph, he'll probably be at 57 million by that stage. Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, Jordan Poole, all on sizable contracts. What's the next contract that Draymond and Clay sign?
Well,
they'll be 34 by then.
Yeah. Klay Thompson will be making $43 million in the 23-24 season. He won't be making that again. And Draymond Green already took a bit of a...
He already took
a discount. He took a 3 for 100. Don't like the beer, do you?
I thought it was
If I
less.
drink anymore, I'll not be able to drive. I'm happy.
I thought it was less.
Nanny state. Nah, 3 for 100. I think their deals are less. I'm actually really excited to see what happens there. Because they're going to be old. Do they take a bit of a hometown discount and say oh yeah, we've made $200-300 million in our lives. Why don't we just take a little bit of a discount and see what you can do in the free agent market? Rich get richer, light years. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, exactly that. Clay spent 2 years on his boat. No offense to Clay, awful injuries, and he's done amazing to come back from it. But yeah, the Warriors stuck by him, for 2.5 seasons. He'll be happy to take a pay cut. And Draymond, I don't think Draymond could play on any other team in the league, especially not at age 34. I don't know what, let's say Detroit puts in a $25 million for him. I don't know how they use him to any advantage, especially at that age.
Last time as a free agent, he had a meeting with Detroit, and then I don't know, actually maybe he didn't have a meeting, maybe he was just talking to him, and then he was like, I love the Bay, and the Bay loves me.
Yeah. Pretty goddamn
much,
right.
but-
As per this Zach Lowe report, we should actually pour one out for the Warriors for having to pay Klay Thompson those 2 years he was injured.
Yeah,
Um,
because they didn't make it in jersey sales.
yeah.
In Klay Thompson jersey sales.
Question for Sean, the Nuggets fan: did the Nuggets draft both the Murray-Jokic combo and the Mitchell-Gobert combo?
I'm not a Nuggets fan, but yes, they did.
Oh, wow.
Sean,
Why
were your fingers crossed when you said that?
Yeah, why would you know that?
We are.
Because there's an article on nuglove.com which you can check out, which talks about the fact that the Nuggets actually started the
Yeah.
oh yeah, whatever. The Jazz thing. Well, should we take a break to let cooler heads, let our heads cool down, and some people to go to their Zio's like graduation party? Hey, what is it? Their retirement party.
Retirement.
What happens at a retirement party?
Dinner.
You're retiring.
And I'm bringing apple pies.
So it's not really
Nah.
Wednesday night.
I think it's just an excuse to get together.
Where is it?
Fairfield. At their house.
Any specific?
The exact address is...
All right. Well, thank goodness he's gone.
Oh, there it is, mate.
Alessio has had to leave us for other commitments, but never fear, the rest of us still like each other and here to talk about basketball. So in the final section, we're just going to talk about Deandre Ayton, because after the Phoenix Suns were eliminated, there was a bit of a furor going on around the Phoenix Suns and Deandre Ayton, and it was a little bit like, okay, is he going to leave? How's that going to happen? What does it look like? etc. But now we're actually getting a lot more colour. There's a few teams that have thrown their hat in the ring. John Hollinger from The Athletic says it is, quote, more likely than not, unquote, that Deandre Ayton will leave this offseason. And well, there's some suitors there. There's some hypothetical trades. There are 2 separate reports that say that he could go. I've just seen someone write chaos. He's cringe. Who wants to start us off here?
Aless?
Oh god, we have a laugh.
Yeah, I'm seriously excited to talk about this as well. Like straight up, like I actually mean this. Why did they not extend him? Like seriously, why? I crunched the numbers today, and Jokic and Embiid, top 2 in MVP voting, are the only 2 centers better than Ayton.
Look, I think Rudy Gobert is better than.
I understand that, and I accept it, and I'm okay if you think that, but I don't think that. I'm willing to say that I'm.
Let's say somewhere 3 to 5 in the league.
Okay, let's say that, but then let's also say we have stopped contextualizing him as a young player, DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
Like, forget about the fact that Gobert is 29 and Ayton's 23. If Gobert is 40 mil, Ayton is 35, and the most you can pay him is 25.
Something like that.
Yeah. Top 7 fucking guys. Oh, so the 7 players who averaged above 60% from the field this season. He's the only one that had double-digit field goal attempts per game, which with 12. So he was like well above the next guy. Shot the best from the line. He's a great defender, especially in the modern game, being able to come up to the level. So like, what are they actually doing? Like, what can you even say about how can you defend the Suns at all? Like, what are they doing? What else are they going to spend the money on if not the 3rd or 5th best center in the league?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do with that money?
And because all their money is tied up elsewhere, the only way they can make the most out of this asset being, Ayton's cap hold or what he would sign on a sign and trade, the only way they can make that up is in a sign and trade, which are extremely hard to do because both teams involved in the sign and trade then have to get right against the hard cap, which is something 10, 20 mil over the actual salary cap. So you, in your article on the deep2.com, I can't believe it's that simple, said, proposed a Jalen Brunson sign and trade with the Dallas Mavericks, which I love, but there are very few situations where that actually works. Most of the situations just have him leaving. And if he does leave, you've just lost the asset for absolutely nothing, and it's not even like you get back a Sabonis or a Yusuf Nurkic. And if he goes elsewhere and he signs that 3+1 in a 4-year deal with Detroit in a couple of weeks. So there's going to match that. And then 3 years from now, you've got an unrestricted free agent who is pissed off for the past 3 years, maybe 3.5 years, and he's just going to leave.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting what you said, Lucas, about that we don't look at him as a young player anymore, because I think there's not, in the sort of incredulity around why Phoenix haven't extended him, there's not a lot of, he's going to be, is he the first or like the second player of that caliber drafted that high in the draft to be good and then like not get his rookie extension? We were talking about Zion being like the huge name that maybe won't get it, maybe won't get his rookie extension. And that's because of like, he has missed more games of basketball than he's played. And this is being looked at as like, oh, you've got this disgruntled player that you're not happy to pay and doesn't want to be there. And really it should be looked at, this is a number one pick. This is someone you've really stuck your neck out to get. And sure, like, he was never going to be as good as Luka Doncic. If he was as good as Luka Doncic, obviously it's a different story. But he's been like the next, really realistically the next best thing, like the next best thing to drafting first option franchise player or immediate all-star like Luka Doncic is like one of the best centers in the league, who is probably always going to be like the third best guy on whatever team he's on, So I think the fact that they're treating him not like that, they're treating him like just another player that they don't want to give money, I think it's offensive.
Yeah, it is offensive, but like I think the gap between, because you say he's the third best player on a team. I think he's just an exceptional role player where like you can put him on any team in the league and he's not going to make their defense a top 10 defense and he's not going to make their offense a top 10 defense, but he's not going to ruin anything the team's got going on. Like he's not going to go somewhere and tank a situation, right? He's just a great role player who doesn't define what the team is. So I think the gap between him and someone who you have on the minimum, like a Bismack Biyombo or a JaVale McGee, is much closer. Not to say that they're the exact same thing, but if you get JaVale McGee for the minimum and think with Chris Paul next to him and Devin Booker and or you're getting all your production from the other positions, if you think that in your valuation you can get JaVale McGee or a Bismack Biyombo for what's their minimum, like $3.4 million, and they'll be worth like $10 million to you. Or you can sign Deandre Ayton to 25, scaling up to 29 in his final season. But really to you and to potential trade partners, he might be worth like less than 20. Like really. Where
But you don't have, then you have to go hunting for a JaVale McGee every offseason, Like you've got DeAndre Ayton for the rest of his career if you extend him.
Yeah, but then if you have DeAndre Ayton for the rest of his career, when Chris Paul's money comes off the books, you're automatically just sucking up a load of that with that DeAndre Ayton extension. Because Chris Paul will eventually retire, and I'll dance on his retirement grave when that happens. And if you don't get a Brunson now, like you say in your sign and trade, if you don't get that Chris Paul insurance for when he does leave, all of a sudden Chris Paul's going to leave, or his money's going to come off the books. I think it's a year from now, or maybe he's non-guaranteed in the final year. And then you've got probably a Supermax extension coming for Devin Booker. You've already inked Miles Bridges, and then it's like you have to build the rest of your team based off that. And you would much rather fill and use your cap space on a really good point guard than you would on a center who, is a great role player, but is that really worth when you just you're rolling out campaign out there?
If you had to play JaVale McGee 30 minutes a night, how would you feel about that?
Well, he can't because he's got asthma, so he's capped at like 15.
Okay.
But yeah, Bismack Biyombo, if I'm the Phoenix Suns and I'm running Bismack Biyombo out there, I would feel great. Because
for halfers.
God, for halfers. Because like you can get a million different Bismack Biyombos. Like maybe Mason Plumlee is going to be available for the minimum, right? But when it comes down to the playoffs, if you have to go against Golden State Warriors or maybe even the New Orleans Pelicans, where like what if Zion is just this incredible five that gets up the court faster than everyone else? I'd much rather have just a roster of more versatile guys who might not be as good, and maybe you can overpay for someone. Like what if they just overpay, give up like I won't say what it is, but heaps of assets to get Grant Williams, and say okay, Grant Williams is going to be our backup 4-5, and like there's there's a handful of guys like Grant Williams. What if you go and get one of them? So then your center rotation is Bismack mostly throughout the throughout the regular season, Maxi Kleber-ish, Grant Williams-ish, and you've got Jay Crowder there. Maybe you can make a move for another one of those 4-5s. And then when you go into the playoffs, all your production is coming from the positions that you're really good at, and you're not just tied up with this guy who is a very, very good role player. But, he blocked Giannis, and then Giannis dunked on him. But, no one thought he was the Giannis stopper. You know what I mean? I said to Dante for weeks that, oh my God, you need PJ Tucker. You need PJ Tucker. He was sitting there on KD. But he made KD's life a little bit worse than it was, and it helped them win that series. But it wasn't the reason why they won that series. Deandre Ayton made it harder for Giannis to score, but it wasn't the reason why they could have won that series.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think given how Phoenix looked in the playoffs, sort of, I guess it's like they're buying into Ayton ball. When you have a player like that, you have to play him 32, 36 minutes in the playoffs. But then, you just don't know if that Phoenix team is going to be, making anything higher than the 4 or the 5 seed if they're playing Bismack Biyombo for 30 minutes in the regular season. Where was Biyombo before he signed with Phoenix? Looking awful in Charlotte. Looking really, really bad in Charlotte. Sure, not a much less favourable situation. But then I do take your point, because that in itself isn't enough reason to be like, all right, well then we need Ayton to win, to get the 1 seed every year.
Yeah, I think as you were naming all those players, I was like, okay, well, I feel like this is all more reasons as to why they should re-sign Ayton.
You reckon?
Yeah,
if you have Ayton, they'll win 55 plus games in the regular season, because he's just a machine that's going to get 15 and 11 for the whole regular season. He's going to play great defense against Jokic and Embiid if they ever face each other in the playoffs. But committing that much to a big that, we've seen bigs peak in their mid-20s. We've seen a lot of bigs like Dwight Howard, where it's oh my God, he's 23 years old and he's already in the finals. That's incredible. But then he just fell off since then. And all of a sudden, if he loses a tiny step because of injuries, then you're a little bit slower, and all of a sudden you can't do as much as you could back in the day.
But this contract wouldn't just be based on Ayton's potential. It would also be based on what he's done already, which is, I think, the worst part about it. Is it's not like he's been streaky and he's shown signs and they're not willing to take that risk. It's okay, no, he showed he is a top 5 center in the league. And this extension would take him to 27 years old. There's no way he's going to be on the decline at 27.
But he could be.
Okay, he could be.
But you would say he's more likely to than signing a point guard or a shooting guard till they're 27.
Yeah, but I don't think it's difficult at all. I just pay the man. He's really good. He's a really good center. I just don't know how you're going to replace that. And 2-point game in the playoffs with 2 minutes to go. All right, chuck Bismack Biyombo out there. Let's see how we go. Oh, look, we lost. Ayton can change the game.
But he's not taking that shot. Chris Paul's going to do his little snake dribble to a mid-ranger, or Devin Booker's going to take it. He's not one of your best players, and also
did get that lob though.
The Nene what rule, the Nene test that Danny LaRue likes to say, where it's as soon as Nene was signed to whatever contract it was in Denver, he got traded that next trade deadline, right? If you pay DeAndre Ayton, let's say Phoenix re-signs him to his max, and he's getting paid $25 million next season, do you reckon immediately, if you re-sign him and you're on 2K and you turn off the signing restriction, the trade restrictions, could you trade him for positive value the day after you sign him to that deal?
Well, that's actually just what I was about to say, because do you
want me to delete that and you can
Phoenix, do you think there's any, just before I get into this, do you think there's any chance that Phoenix just let him walk just straight up into unrestricted free agency? No. Okay, so then this season, what value are you going to get for DeAndre Ayton? Jalen Brunson, maybe?
I think that might be the best case. So maybe Yusuf Nurkic, I hope he's healthy.
Yeah, and then it's the teams that want Ayton, I don't know, the Utah Jazz, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to send out value or, some sort of salary to get Rudy Gobert back in that deal. Why not sign Ayton? You're going to sign him anyway. You're winning games at the moment, and then when Chris Paul comes out of his contract, you go, right, okay, where do we want to go from here? Maybe I just think if you're gonna sign him and you're winning basketball games with him now, and you're not going to get value this off season, then why trade him when it's kind of, you're almost selling low on him at this stage. Like teams know that you're trying to get rid of him.
But that's also their fault for not extending him.
Yeah,
and if that
it
was,
is, it 100% is.
If that was your intention, then why'd you draft like a traditional big one overall?
It just like that's another part of it. It's like, okay, now it looks even worse that we didn't draft Luka or Trae Young.
Yeah. It's like if you think about this guy now, something might, I guess, different front office, so maybe that point's mute. But that point's mute.
You're going to give him a contract this offseason. Why didn't you just extend him at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, you just made it ugly. You've had this whole Monty Williams, like he wasn't trying, and also there was a quote.
Why do you think he wasn't trying?
There was a quote early last season where Deandre Ayton really started to like show that he could actually do something on offense. And then he said something like, "Oh man, I got to give half my salary to Chris Paul. Like he's just getting me in the spots where I like it." And that goes back to my point where it's like putting him on the court doesn't transcend you to a top 5 offense. Putting him on the court doesn't make you worse, but it doesn't make you that much better. Like Rudy Gobert, I know you don't like me saying this, but when he's on the court, they're one of the best defenses in the whole entire world, right? He has to make up for the 4 dudes next to him that aren't very good defenders. But you put Rudy Gobert on all 30 teams, and in the regular season, they're going to be a top 5 defense, right? But if you put Deandre Ayton on all 30 teams, you just don't have the same. And like Rudy Gobert, you're not going to be an exceptional offense with him there. But Nikola Jokic, you put him on 30 teams, they're going to be a better offense. Deandre Ayton, you put him on 30 teams, like he's fine. And without Chris Paul, like what if it was Campaign running the show?
Yeah. Well, actually, I remember when the Suns signed Shamet, and we did a pod on ours or yours, and I said the Suns worried that Chris Paul's doing with DeAndre what he did with DeAndre, of course being Ayton and Jordan. And you actually all were like, no, that's stupid, like it's a stupid point. So I guess I was right, but when I writ my article about the Mavs post-mortem, and I did that double sign and trade Brunson for Ayton, I put a little qualifier before saying, now just to let you all know, sign and trades are usually inequitable, and that was so clearly that the Mavs were the ones winning the deal by getting Ayton. And a week later, they're just like that. Those roles have flipped completely. And it's funny that you bring up the Jazz. I was watching Quinn Snyder's exit press conference, and Danny Ainge was like, "We were desperate to keep him. I mean, desperate." And I was like, "It's probably the right thing to do in this part of the Jazz. Is like they're obviously in a transition. They're going to move on from Gobert or Mitchell or both. They're going to need a new coach is probably needed. But But then I was like, wait, you're just not going to get a coach better than Quinn Snyder.
Yeah.
And then I was like thinking about the Ayton Suns thing. It's like, okay, let's say they do center by committee or just keep rolling out minimum guys. You're not going to get a center better than Ayton. Like you're gonna when he leaves, you get worse at that position.
I agree with you. I just don't think it matters as much.
Okay.
The final thing I would say is you're saying, Rudy goes on to any 30 NBA teams and he makes their defense better. I think Ayton goes to a couple of NBA teams and he fits really well. Like, I think the fit in Dallas is really, really good, where he is probably worth more than the sum of his parts. That's it. That's my final point.
Yeah, it's just, bigs have gone through, like, a makeover in the past 10 years and stuff, and it's been like, what's the modern big look like in the NBA? And, since we've had guys like Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic come in and Porzingis when he was there, it was like, oh my God, like these dudes are completely reshaping the position. And I'm not mentioning Giannis there, which I probably should, but like you say, oh my God, like look at these dudes that are just traditional bigs, guys that Charles Barkley loves. He's like, this is the way basketball should be played. Like it's just going great, but they haven't done anything yet. Like we talk about how these guys are zagging while everyone's zigging, but like it hasn't happened yet. Like we're still seeing small ball always wins out. Small ball, like if you always have a Jay Crowder to throw at the 5, just hope something works. Like it's always just worked so far.
Yeah, it is funny that like a 35-year-old Al Horford is the best playoff center at the moment. When there were the top 3 MVPs were all also in the playoff.
Yeah.
And
This
over 6'11".
And Draymond Green.
Yeah.
you brought up the Nene test before.
Yeah.
Now, what I dislike about that is that Deandre Ayton was part of 2 wins in the NBA Finals, and the thing he did the best, or the thing that he did that stood out the most, was that he challenged Giannis, which no one ever has done. And what's Giannis? The best player in the world right now? Top 3?
I know, we talked about Steph Curry for a while.
Okay, top 2. Jokic, whatever.
Best 82 game player. But go on.
But like Ayton has just accomplished so much more than so many other guys. Like I don't even know what we're talking about. On the Brunson stuff, why is there so much noise around him leaving? Is that like
because he's unrestricted, and you rarely get a guy who spent 4 years on his rookie deal to be unrestricted. Like 99.99% of the guys who finish their rookie deal are restricted, and of course they just return. So Brunson is the one, and like Bobby Marks said, like a year ago, he said, like this is never going to happen again. So that's just because he is unrestricted. He's so young, he's got all that potential, and then obviously the fact that he knows that he's in this position, and he's like, well, fucking pay me. His dad just signed with New York, and his dad's been saying things like, "Yeah, we're not going to take a Dallas discount." What was your follow-up question?
It was just like, it was just going to be, has he indicated that he wants to go?
No.
Yeah, that's my only thing. It's just like, there's nothing that's come out from him saying like, get me to this place.
But you never know. Like, day one free agency opens, and it's like, oh, he just signed a 5-year deal with Chicago, or some shit like that.
Yeah,
like, it can
just happen.
It's actually quite nice just to see dudes respect the process. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, instead of having Cole Lowry tell us 2 weeks before that he's probably going to sign with Miami in all these different ways. It's like, just go meet with 6 teams, hear your vision, and then just like use your right as a player and pick where you want to go.
Yeah. I thought the 22.5 per year for him was a good price set, but I think the one and only Dante Mr. Boff, my man. But in thinking about this more, I think it could be closer to 30.
Yeah.
Like,
well, if he does it right and he gets a bidding war and he just says,
which
like,
he will, I reckon.
Yeah. Like, there's so many teams that could need him. But I think I was writing about this today for nuglove.com, which you can check out at nuglove.com.
It really is that
a really
easy.
A really good consolation prize will be if you want a point guard and you can't sign Jalen Brunson, like, you can just trade for Victor Oladipo.
True.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, isn't he unrestricted?
No, he's still on contract.
What? I thought he was on a 1-year deal.
Let me just...
Well, we need to do some fact checking on my article over at the DT.com. Because I said he was unrestricted.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought he was on a 1-year minimum with... like a 1.5.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Huh?
Bro.
You said Victor Oladipo.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Dude.
Yeah, that's your third slip.
Oh, is that my third slip?
Yeah, before you said...
I said Zio instead of Zio.
No, you said Miles Bridges instead of Michael. And then you also said...
Michael.
Mikel. And then you also said...
Did I?
Yeah, and then you also said Ayton doesn't make it... Ayton doesn't go to a team and make them a top 10 offense.
Said...
And then you said he doesn't go and make a team's defense so good that it becomes a top 10 offense.
Oh,
or the other way around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Sleepy
a
time.
couple too many of these habanero sours.
Yeah, Jesus.
But yeah, Victor Oladipo, that's a funny one.
Malcolm Brogdon.
That's a very funny
one. I
one.
made a few boo-boos. Thanks for telling me right after that.
No, I thought it's a bit nitpicky. Like, the people got what you were saying.
Sometimes I have corrected people immediately, and it's the most awkward.
Yeah, it's like there's nowhere to go from there. It's like, okay, what was the flow we were building on the last 10 minutes? Let's refine
it's
that.
It's a finisher joke, but no one laughs.
Yeah, that did need a correction because I really thought you were talking about Victor Oladipo.
Well, he said Victor Oladipo.
The point guard.
Can you guys just read my mind? Fun little fact: when I used to play tennis, and I only when I played tennis, and everyone would just wear like Nike shirts or just sports shirts. I used to always think that the colour orange was purple. And I would just be like, oh, they're doing the purple shirt.
Would you see purple or you just say it?
No, it's all red.
I'm not like colourblind.
No, I am.
But I would, I'll just call it. Oh, you are, right?
Yeah.
But I would
that
just...
colour too.
That colour, but you don't see it as purple.
Huh?
For some reason, my brain was just like, oh, it's purple.
Yeah, wow. Just
But
when
then-
you're playing tennis.
Well, then my mate will be like, "That's orange." I'm like, "Oh, it is. What are you talking about?"
Just when you're talking about the 2022 free agency point guard market, you think Oladipo is Malcolm Brogdon. It's one of those funny little things.
What was your tennis game?
I played. Oh, I played.
Scratch something.
I played when I was like 15. Doubles.
Oh yeah.
Were you like
won the title.
good, like ace serve,
Yeah,
strong,
what was
strong
it?
forehand?
As I said,
Killer.
strong game.
Strongest return in the comp.
Yeah.
Shit.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
Actually.
do you reckon I could just fire off a couple bombs down the TT?
Yeah.
Sick.
But they're coming back to
What
us
do you-
as far. Nah, heaps of one return game winners
Yeah.
in D grade.
Return aces, I think we call them.
Is that what they're called?
Don't know.
You love tennis.
I love Kyrgios
Yeah.
and Kambosos. Pour one in.
Is that the boxer?
Yeah,
What happened there?
he lost. He lost.
Yeah, bugger.
But they're going to rematch. He's going to exercise the rematch clause.
Oh, really?
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just at the end though.
Yeah. So if you want to say anything, you wanted to be on the pod.
Yeah, hi pod.
All right, let's wrap it up. Marco, you've got an article on deep2.com. Can't believe it's that simple.
Mm.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. It's I'd say equal parts Miami Heat post-mortem, after the end of their season, Eastern Conference Finals, and another part brutal takedown, SJW destruction style,
With logic and reason.
with logic and reason of Heat culture, or the myth of Heat culture, as I call it. I think we've been giving Miami a couple too many free passes in the way they build their rosters, just because of Pat Riley's fucking doing however many push-ups at age 70. So I think this offseason they really need to actually go and get a number of good basketball players on the court.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, lads. Thanks for filling in for Dante. I know he was rolling in his thesis grave that whole pod. This
Wow.
is
I hated it.
an hour and 6 of positive Warriors takes and negative Suns takes, apart from Lukey. But always has to be a difference.
What was I positive or negative about?
Ayton, bro, you love him.
Yeah, we were still criticising
Yeah,
the
we were
Phoenix
all
Suns.
doing it.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Fix you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.